Welcome to TheiaCon 2023. I'm Jonas, and it's a great honor for me to start the show with the first talk. But also in my role of a PC member, I would like to welcome everyone to TheiaCon 2023. We are excited to have over 350 registrations. So hello to all the people there sitting in all locations around the world and watching the show. And we are really looking forward to a great program today and tomorrow. We designed the schedule in a way that it should be as compatible as possible with different time zones. So that's why we have 3 hours per day. To learn more about the program, please visit Swapcourt and see all the amazing talks that I'm really looking forward to. And without further ado, I would like to dive into the first talk, which is mine. I would like to give an update about the Theia project for the last year. I'm Jonas Helming. I work for EclipseSource. We are a company focused on building tools and IDEs for our customers. And many of these tools are web-based, and many of these web-based tools are based on Theia. And today I would like to talk in my role as one of the Theia project leads and talk about all the exciting things that happened in and around the Theia project for the last year. And because there happened so much, I would like to directly dive into it to not lose any time. Right. So it will be a little bit a mixture between organizational news and a lot of features and also some demonstrations. So to keep it interesting, let's directly dive into it. The first great news is about the VS Code extension support. So you might know that Theia supports hosting VS Code extension, meaning you can install from this huge ecosystem of VS Code extensions. You can install them in Theia-based applications and reuse all these great features. And Theia provides this API. And as you might know, we worked hard on basically being fully compatible with VS Code again. And as you can see here in the chart, we have reached our goal actually already in June. So we kind of are on the same level as VS Code. I will not go too much into detail about this because there will be a talk directly after mine by Thomas Meda, who describes more details about the process and the great things that happened on this journey. The next feature that I would like to announce is that was contributed in summer or merged in summer, and that's support for multiple extension registries. So it's related to the first one. You can install VS Code extensions into Theia. And a good source for that is the OpenVSX registry that is hosted by the Eclipse Foundation that hosts, I think, over 2,000 extensions for all different purposes. But in Theia, since this summer, you can actually connect a Theia-based application to more than one extension registry. This is a very interesting feature for many use cases. For example, if you provide a commercial product based on Theia, and you want users to allow extensions from OpenVSX, but also some custom extensions that you don't want to upload to a public repository, but for example, only grants specific users access. Also, it's very interesting for internal use if you are in a corporate environment and you want to control which extensions people can install into their IDE. You can very easily control which extension registry they connect to, and for example, provide your own extension registry that provides only features that you that for example pass the security check. So really great capability. Another feature or improvement that was started pretty much 1 year ago, but has been completed for quite a while now, is a complete re-implementation of Theia's RPC protocol. So as you might know, every Theia application consists of a front end and a back end, and data or anything between the two is passed using an RPC protocol. This is typically not super performance critical in terms of size because usually messages are sent back and forth. There's one exception when we talk about files because there the content has to be sent to the front end to actually display it. And to improve the performance there, this protocol was re-implemented. That's a work that was initiated by Thomas Meda and then picked up by others, especially Tobias Ortmeier. And the great result is it's actually more than 30 times faster now. We can see the stats here on the left side. So especially when reading large files, you get an amazing speed up here. So it's really super fast to open very large files in Theia now. Now, this protocol can be used by anything in Theia, and for example, Trace Compass Cloud also uses this new version of the protocol, and also have they also got some significant performance speed up in the UI through that. This is not the only performance topic that we worked on more recently. Started in September this year. We started to work on improving the startup performance. This was also initiated a little bit earlier when we introduced the ability to also bundle the backend in Theia using Webpack, which makes the backend smaller in size and also reduces the number of files. And that has speed up the backend, the start of the backend significantly. But we made it an initiative, and there are several ideas and several action items in this initiative. Quite a lot are already completed, including optimizing the front-end startup, showing the window of the application earlier during the startup phase, load localization files lazily, and so on. And in the current state, we can observe that it's already down by 40 to 50%, depending on the machine. So it's already pretty good. There are a few open things that we will investigate here to bring this time down even more, but we already have a very significant improvement in this area. And this is something that every Theia-based application will benefit from. Next feature, also a super exciting one, is the introduced remote SSH support that was recently merged, contributed by Typefox. So the idea here is that you can connect a Theia-based application to a remote container. This remote container can actually even run locally, so it can be a Docker container, or it can be a container or a virtual machine that runs somewhere in the cloud. And the idea is basically from your Theia application, you can upload the Theia backend to this container and then do your development in this container. This allows to very easily access a certain setup that is already available somewhere in the cloud, or preserve a setup, or, for example, look at potentially even a container that is in production and access exactly this container. So you can abstract your development from your local environment. Again, about this feature, I will not go into detail because there's a talk tomorrow given by Mark. I think it's Embracing Remote Development with Theia. That's the title. So if you want to learn more about this and other topics, definitely make sure to join his talk tomorrow. All right, demo time. Now let's show something. I actually created videos because I was not sure about live demos in the in this online conference setup. First feature that I would like to demo is the notebook. Let me start that. Let me maximize that. So notebook editors are editors that that provide a mix between text or formatted text and code that can be executed. Now, this is a new API that Theia provides. It's aligned or compatible with the VS Code extension API. So VS Code extensions that provide so-called notebook editors can use this API. And here we see an example. This is the Python extension that provides such a notebook editor. And what we can see here now on the right side is a mixture between code and text. So here are code pieces, and you can click the button to actually execute this code and then even see the results. So here an array was created, and here we print the array and we directly see the result. But we can also, in the same editor, for example, add some markdown text. So we add a markdown element here, and then we can also use formatting in here. So now this is very exciting for Theia because it kind of opens up a complete new use case, or makes Theia attractive for a new user base, because these notebook editors are, for example, often used in science or in data analytic use cases. And you can now use VS Code extensions to provide such notebook editors, even use existing one or provide your own. All right, let's directly dive into the next feature. Again, a pretty big one. That's the so-called test API. The test API allows VS Code extensions, again, to provide so-called test controllers. And these test controllers provide additional API to manage and run test cases. I will move a little bit forward in this video to show you that. So here we have the Test Explorer, which is part of this support. And we can see there are now 2 test controllers in our workspace, one for sample tests and one for Playwright, for example. Now, these test controllers scan the workspace. They identify whether there are any tests and list them here. And now you can see here are buttons where you can directly execute them, which happens in the moment. You can debug them, and you can open the corresponding file. So it provides a much easier overview if you work with a lot of tests. So let's jump to the place where they're actually executed. Here we have a test file opened, and now in a minute in the video the tests get executed. Hopefully, yes. So here we have a test run profile, and now we see the execution is actually monitored. They run in an arbitrary order. And then down here in the test runs view, we see the results. So we see that the test completed successfully. If there would be any failures, we would also see the results here. We could check out which test fails. So in a nutshell, this kind of replicates, for example, what we had in previous extensions for desktop IDEs, like for JUnit and so on. So it's very comfortable and helps a lot when working with a lot of tests in the project. All right, let's directly dive into the next feature then. This is about windows. Now, this might be known for you, so you might have seen this before. We enabled detachable views or detachable widgets 1 year ago, but only for the browser version. And now this actually is the desktop version or an Electron version. And you can see we open a view here and we can actually detach it from the main window and then use it independently, which is very useful if you have, for example, a big screen or even a second screen. You can move one of the views to this second screen and use your screen real estate more efficiently. Now, the 2 windows are now fully connected. So, for example, if you would do a theme switch in the main window, which is demonstrated now. So we changed that to the dark theme, the secondary window follows and so on. Again, this now works in the browser and on the desktop. If you coming from a desktop IDE, you might be surprised that that didn't work forever. It's actually not common in web-based tools anymore to support this, but we believe it's a really important feature, especially for complex tools or, for example, for debugging sessions and so on, that you can actually move something to a secondary window. It's worth noting in Theia, this is currently supported for web views and the terminal. It is possible to enable this feature for custom views, and it would also be possible to support more views provided by Theia Core, which would require additional work. So if you're interested in that, get in contact with the Theia team. We want to learn now what are the additional views where detaching makes sense and is actually providing value to the adopter base. All right, next 2 features are about the tab management that has been improved a lot during the last year. The first one is about the visual hover for tabs. There are 2 new modes here. So what is this about? If you hover over a tab in Theia, so we see here 3 tabs open. In the past, you've just seen the file path, and this might be very long and it's actually not super useful information by its own. Now, there are 2 new modes that you can actually activate in Theia. One is this is currently activated. One is the enhanced one, I think. Waiting for the video. Yeah, the enhanced one. And now this allows to provide more information in a more formatted way. So if we now hover over a tab, we see the file name and then the path below, and you can actually influence what exactly is displayed here for your custom views or for your complete tool. Now the second, and for example, here we can see here the terminal does that, so there's more information displayed down here. And this is very useful because you don't have to click necessarily a view to get this information. The second mode is the visual one. This actually really provides a preview without even clicking the tab. This must be supported by the view where you want to see a preview from. We provide some default, so it might just work out of the box, but you definitely have to test that. I cannot just assume it works for all of them. But it's, I think, a very nice addition, and again, makes it easier for users to find the right tab. All right, and the Last feature that I would like to demo is also related to tabs. And this is actually one of my favorite. It looks so small, but for me, it really improves a lot the usability. Um, if you open a lot of tabs in Theia and actually also in other tools, you easily get a problem with the space on top, right? And the default until now was actually that the tab size grows based on the file name. So if you have a very long file name, you have a very inhomogeneous layout there. So the first thing that we actually improved is the slider there that's currently demonstrated, so you can more easily navigate to other tabs there. But more important, we introduced a more sophisticated tab management, and it's not a secret that we just looked at the application that, in my opinion, handles tab the best, and that's actually a browser. Browsers do a really good job. So the setting that we introduced here can be found on the Workbench tab, and you can actually enable shrink tabs to fit available space. You can also define a minimum size. And if you enable that, what you can see now here on top is that all tabs now have the same size, and they shrink as long as there's no available space anymore up to the minimum. And now we can see actually if we go for 3 tabs, they're all the same size. So it's a much better layout, and you can even influence that to, for example, fit your screen size as we see here. So if we change this value, we can make them smaller by default and so on. All right, let's dive into the slides again. Now, from an organizational point of view, there were also a lot of things happening in the community that I would like to talk about. So we are pretty happy about the stats of the project. So we can see this is from OpenHub, an open source scanner. We have a stable development community, very large active development team, well-established code base. We are proud that we have a very well-commented source code, so we improved the documentation a lot. So all this is great news. Last year, I announced on TheiaCon the first community release. Now, this has been very successful. Now, in case you don't know, Theia by default follows a monthly release cycle. But over 1 year ago, we introduced a second type of release called community release. Community releases are published only every 3 months. And they have several special attributes. For example, we publish a release candidate for every community release 1 month ahead. So adopters can actually test the release. We can fix certain things in the release before it gets published. And also quite a lot of technologies ensure their compatibility with the community release. So they don't do this for every monthly release because that would be too much overhead, but for the community release, including, for example, Languium, GLSP, CDT Cloud, and several others. And you find a list of these additional technologies on the website, including the version that is compatible with a certain community release. Now, we are happy to announce that we did now 5 successful community releases in a row. And they're received very well. And many adopting projects, especially the projects that build something upon Theia, have switched to consuming these community releases rather than the monthly releases, which significantly lowers their overhead in updating to new versions. As I just already mentioned, we're happy to have a very stable and diverse community. So Theia remains to not be a one-man show of one company, but there are actually several companies which strategically and continuously invest into Theia, contributing to the maintenance, to bug fixes, but also to the implementation of new features and driving Theia forward, which we are really happy about. So community is in a really good state. We are happy to observe that there are more and more strategic adopters. Sometimes they don't get into contact with us, and we learn about this much later, but sometimes they do, and actually, for example, put their logo on the website. And we are really happy to observe that Theia gets more and more adopted by smaller and big players for a variety of products. And also, we have a couple of strategic initiatives that really drive the project forward. So, for example, the VS Code compatibility was one of these initiatives, and there are several others now that I will mention on the last slide. where adopters and contributors really decide to work together on bringing the project forward to the next level. And while doing so, I'm also very happy to observe that there's a very efficient open source collaboration within Theia. So it's not just a project where anybody just commits something. It's really, there's a very regular and efficient communication between the players, and quite often features are even developed together, right? So different stakeholders identify that they have a common interest and then share the development cost, which I believe is really the the best open source collaboration you can have, because then you can share the cost, you can benefit from the technical experience of several players. So it's really, really working well. Now, we even want to improve that. And one thing that was brought up by adopters was the ability to communicate with other adopters on a more strategic level. So in Theia, we currently have a weekly call where everybody can join. So it's open for everyone. It's called the Theia Dev Call. And typically the core contributor and committer team meets there to discuss topics around current development. Now, this is actually a very great way to communicate with the community. However, for certain parties and for certain people, this might be too detailed and the frequency might be too high. So they don't want to discuss or learn something every week. Maybe the schedule doesn't allow, but they still want to communicate with the community somehow and get an update, what's currently going on, what do others do, what are others interested in, and so on. And for this purpose, we decided to, pretty much like the community release, establish a second call, and we call that the community call. This will happen now every 3 months, and it's aligned with the community release. So it happens a week after the community release is published. The first one will be on March 14th, 4 p.m. You find all the details on the Theia wiki. If you follow the release announcement, the regular release announcement, we will publish the information there again, so you will be reminded. And the agenda will be, we will give an update about what happened in the community release phase, and we will also ask certain adopters to potentially interest or present initiatives, ask questions, and we also plan to have an open discussion rounds where people can raise concerns and so on. All right, and finally, I'm very happy to announce that adopters and contributors are growing. So this was the list 1 year ago, and we can see new players arrive in the ecosystem. So we are happy to see that. If you are working, contributing, or adopting Theia and your logo is not here, it's actually very easy to do. You just have to open the bug and upload your logo, and we are happy about every party that actually shows their interest in Theia, because that helps the project. Right, and the last slide, I keep this short. What is coming up in Theia? There are 3 things that I would like to mention that are currently cooking and people are working on that. Number 1 is live share. So you might know this feature. This is the live share enables to connect 2 IDEs and work together on the same code base. So pretty much like Google Doc. Currently, Theia committers are working on this. There is an architecture proposal open as a PR. So we don't want to promise when this arrives, but hopefully soon. And I think this will be a very innovative and cool feature in Theia to connect people doing pair programming on code, but potentially also on other editors like diagrams and so on. And the second thing that's currently cooking is backendless Theia. So by default, every Theia application needs a backend, but in many cases, that's actually not even necessary anymore. And the reason for that is that many technologies nowadays, like for example, Langium or GLSP, are written in TypeScript, and they could actually directly run in the browser. Now, the advantage of this would be you massively reduce the overhead for hosting Theia-based applications. So you don't need a cluster, cloud infrastructure, and so on, but you can just provide a static website. And there is a first PR open, providing a first version of Theia running headlessly. So technically, we believe it's possible, and we want to continue and extend this feature. And finally, Theia IDE. So this has been requested a lot. So when does Theia actually provide an IDE that I can just use? and not just be a platform where I can build something. This is going to happen. Essentially, we will rebrand Theia Blueprint to be the Theia IDE. So we have done extensive testing over the last month, and we believe we're very close to have a very stable and very good working product here. I don't want to promise, but this might arrive even in the first beta version in December. So watch out if you're looking for an IDE just to use. Theia IDE might be the right tool for you, and we are really excited. And we actually already have a logo that we kind of stole from TheiaCon. So TheiaCon next year has to find a new logo. All right, and with that, I think I'm out of time, but I'm happy to answer any questions. So if you have any questions, please type them in the chat and they will be forwarded to me. All right, and there's the first question already. Will it be possible to detach other widgets as well? For example, editor tab as an individual tab. So at the moment, it's not worked on, but if you want that, if you need that, definitely at least open a bug so that we know that you're interested in that. And technically, it is possible. I know that Visual Studio announced early access to actually support that for editors, and it probably makes it also easier for us to implement that because we use the same code editor there. Second question is, any thought on tab manager like Firefox? Would this work with the developer's UX too? I'm sorry, I cannot answer this question because I'm not using Firefox. I don't know the tab manager in Firefox, to be honest. I'm sorry to not answer this question. All right, are there any other questions? Perfect, then we're good in time. Please stay online because the next talk I'm really looking forward to is from Thomas Meder, the co-project lead of Theia, and it will, as far as I know, tell the story how we reached VS Code compatibility. So I think it's really an exciting one. And with that, enjoy the rest of the conference and hopefully see you soon.